Brad, if there's one thing you know about your friend Dave Kellett, it's that Dave Kellett is a cheap bastard, right? Like I love a deal, Brad. I love a deal, right?
Well, I wouldn't say cheap bastard. I'd say that he's very smart with his money. That's what I would
there
think.
we go. Thank you. Yes, Dave
He's
Kellett
very smart with his money, bastard.
That's right. Listen, if Scrooge could be made into a cartoonist, that's what Dave Kellett would be. That's right. So anyway, I want to tell you about an app that apparently has existed for a while, but has just come across my transom. And I'm going to spell it out. It's called Too Good To Go. And it's T-O-O, good, T-O, go, right? Too Good To Go.
Okay.
Okay, now here's the idea. And I love this app so much, and I've already dropped so much cash in the 1 week since I've downloaded this stupid app.
What is this?
So the basic idea is bakeries in your neighborhood, Brad, are looking for you. Bakeries in your neighborhood are looking for Brad Geiger, right? Brad, these bakeries are in your neighborhood and they're looking for you. And so here's the idea. That, by the way, was a totally accidental joke that once I did it, I was like, I'm leading into it. What the app does is all these bakeries at the end of their day, they have all this extra bread and muffins and croissants and donuts and stuff.
And donuts, right? Donuts.
And, they could do two things. They could throw them all in the trash. They could, or they could sell them at a hyper discount, right?
Right.
But you and I know from the end of Comic-Con, if you offer discounts on a Sunday at a Comic-Con, people will remember, and they will just come the next year on the Sunday and they say, are your discounts activated yet? And you go, no. So we have learned to not offer discounts at Comic-Con, right? And I think a lot of bakeries do that too, because they know other people will just go at 5 p.m. and buy for the next morning, right?
Right.
So what this app does, it says, okay, no. Here's what we're going to do. How much food do you have on average in the average day? And they say, okay, we have X amount of food. Okay, how many people could that service? Okay, we could do this amount of people. So on Too Good To Go, I plunk down $5 and I pick a local bakery, right?
Yeah.
And I do it the day before. And what it does is, at the end of their day, they take a whole grab bag of stuff, somewhere between 5 to... Last night, my wife and I got 15 high-end croissants, chocolate croissants, ham and cheese croissants, cinnamon rolls. We got a whole bunch of stuff. And you pay $5, and I swear to God, Brad, I went and did the math on this coffee shop's croissants that we got last night. Yeah. And it was $65 worth of croissants, Brad, that we got for $5. Brad,
okay.
I told my wife, it's like the birth of my kids are up here, marriage to my wife right there, and then finding out about this goddamn app is number 3 on the top 3 things in my life. I'm so excited about this thing so far.
Do they deliver it to you, or do you got to go
have to go pick it up? But that's why it has to be bakeries in your neighborhood are looking for you, because my wife at her office happens to have a bakery right below her office, below her office. So, like, she clocks out at the end of the day, and she's like, I'm just going to go get some stuff. And Brad, it's all been fantastic. It's all great.
Oh my God. The only thing is you don't have a choice.
I am actively working towards type 2 diabetes since I've downloaded this app. It's a problem. It's a problem. I've probably spent $35. I mean, I've done it every day since I've downloaded the app.
Oh my God.
Well, because right now
how much baked goods do you have? How much baked goods can you eat?
Well, so, there's kids in the house, and we have our in-laws that live nearby, and so we basically do I've given it to neighbors, too. We have distributed this stuff. I'm like the Johnny Appleseed of baked goods.
I just have this mental image of you skipping through your neighborhood with a basket with bread and croissant and donuts and just throwing them willy-nilly at the different neighbors that are going by.
Hello, children. Hello, Leo. Hello, Susan. Hello, Greg. Who wants a croissant? But Brad, honest to God, I know that I'm in just the excitement phase, but I feel like this is a life hack that I wish I had known about years ago. This thing is bonkers. And by the way, I'm going to London in November, and I looked up the neighborhood that I'm staying in. Holy shit, there's chock-a-block in London.
Oh my God.
Every bakery.
You're taking this app with you so you can do this in London?
I swear to God, I looked up your neighborhood in Philadelphia. There's a bunch of stuff in your neighborhood, Brad.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well now I've got to download this. This should be in a this should be a sponsorship here.
I know they
this
should.
freaking
But
thing.
you know how I just got back from Ohio? I was in Cleveland and Columbus. I looked it up in Cleveland and Columbus. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. They had nothing in the Midwest.
Oh, my
I
God.
think this is one of those apps where it's hitting the coasts first and the big metropolitan cities. So it's in London, it's in New York, it's in Philly, it's in LA, it's huge in Seattle. It's in Portland. It's in a lot of the coastal cities. You go to the Midwest, there's like a trickling amount. But honestly, this is the kind of app that's made for urban or heavily suburban folks where there's a lot of restaurants around. You know what I mean?
Oh, my God.
So I can't wait. By the way, I'm going to London, and if anybody wants to grab a beer, any Comic Lab listeners that are in and around London, email me, davidkellett.com. We'll grab a beer at some point.
Nice idea.
Yeah, I thought that'd be fun, because how often am I in London? So, but I'm 100% using this app when I'm in London, Brad. I'm going to come back every day. And family, father has brought home fresh London croissants from yesterday that I got for £5.
Oh, my
45
God.
pounds worth.
Anyway. And the only thing I don't like about it, have you ever gotten, it's like you got something there and you're like, oh, I don't like this at all. Like,
yes, and that's when my father-in-law gets it, because he eats anything. So he is a Hoover. I love it, and I say this with love. There's some people in your life that are just like, oh yeah, I'll eat that. That's fine. So he got the almond croissants. I don't tend to like almonds.
Yeah.
He got the this weird cheese paprika croissant. That one felt weird to me, so I gave that one to him. But Brad, my wife and I have been experimenting. We've been trying different bakeries around West LA, and there's been one or two where I was like, oh, we got 3 croissants. That's not actually a lot. It's not worth the drive. But there's some, like the one last night where we got 15 different baked goods, Brad, for $5.
That's amazing.
And
that is amazing.
I'll text you the photo. They're not like the shitty croissants. The ones that are like super butter glazed. They look French. They don't look like an American croissant. They look like a French croissant. You know what I mean? And so, Brad, I want this for you as a friend. I want you to download this app and show it to your wife. And I want you to experience a reawakening of love in your marriage as you go through this app together, Brad.
Well, listen, if anything is going to do it, it's going to be a good croissant.
That's right. And so I'm going to say hello, everybody. Welcome to Comic Lab, the show about discounted, delicious croissants in your neighborhood that are looking for you and making comics.
And making a living from comics and things that you're going to hear about for the rest of the show. I'm Brad Geiger, the author of the Webcomics Handbook and the creator of Evil Inc.
And I'm his pal Dave Kellett, cartoonist of Drive and Sheldon, who has just finished a chocolate croissant recently.
Did you really?
I did, and it was great. And I'm also the co-director of Stripped.
And this week's Hour of Comics Advice is made possible by your support at patreon.com/comiclab. So Dave, let's talk comics.
Let's talk comics, my friend. I love how, by the way, the French, having put 17 pounds of butter into a 1 pound croissant, they're like, how could we make this better?
Yeah.
And they're like, you know what? I got it, Francois. How about 19 pounds of chocolate into that 19 pounds of butter, and let's make a chocolate croissant.
The French are very good about that kind of thing.
Yeah. What they are good at, though, too, is portion control. Like, unlike Americans, where it's like, hey, would you like half a cow? The French are like, listen, the 3 bites is enough. That's fine. Brad, we have a huge show for everybody, and it's not just bakery goods. Although, God, I would love to talk about it for another hour.
We might be starting a new podcast next month called Brad and Dave Do Baked Goods.
Honest to God, Brad, I would review the bakery goods that I got yesterday. We got 15 of them. I can't get over this, Brad, for $5. I know this is ridiculous. I know I sound like a child, but I'm so excited by this goddamn app. So, Brad, I got a question for you that's coming over at patreon.com/comiclab. And this is coming in from Quentin and says, hey, comics uncles, what is the leg under the table that seems most vulnerable right now? And for those that might be new to this concept, Brad and I have this idea that you want to put as many legs under the table as possible. Do you sell books online? Great. You also want to have a Patreon. Do you do a Patreon? Great. You also want to do Kickstarters. Do you have Kickstarters? Great. You might also want to do merch. Do you do merch? Great. You might also want to do commissions. Do you do commission? You get the idea. You want to have as many legs under the table such that if one gets knocked out, there's other legs under the table. So Quentin is asking, what is the leg under the table that seems the most vulnerable right now, Brad? Patreon, conventions, Kickstarters, etc., etc. And do you see any new legs growing out of the Frankenstein monster in the near future? Brad, What of your legs are you most concerned about?
Well, the one.
Well, I'll tell you, based on your urologist, I think I
know. Yeah, well, tell me about it. So the one that I want to first talk about is in the ones that Quentin already talked about, conventions. Yes. I'm going to say just because I've been harping on this, literally going all the way back to 2017. That I don't think comic conventions are a very good idea. I don't think that most of us who go to conventions are making a profit there. I think it's a bad investment. So I'd be very interested in convincing you to take that leg off of your table to begin with, because I think it's probably hurting you more than helping you. What about you? What's for me, conventions is the first one I want to take away from that table, or the one that I would be very concerned with bolstering if I did have it as part of my business plan. What about you? What's the legs you're worried about?
I'm comfortable co-signing that one with Brad, even though I do San Diego Comic-Con. And the caveat that I always have to tell everyone is I have been doing San Diego Comic-Con since 1999. So it's like 25, 26 years of doing that show. I have family in San Diego. I am from San Diego. It's a local drive for me where I load up my van, so I don't have to pay for a flight. I don't have to pay for shipping. I pay $30 in gas to get down there. And the stay is easy. What I'm getting at here, and you already can sense this, my costs are super controlled for San Diego Comic-Con, and it's a known quantity, and I know how to make money at that show. But you plop down Dave Kellett at New York Comic-Con, where I have to pay for a flight, I have to pay for 4 nights of a New York hotel, I have to pay the union guys to bring the boxes into, what is it, Javits Center? I forget what center it's at.
No, the other one was at the Javits, but go ahead.
But you get the point. There's union guys that have to bring in the show materials for you. And then food costs in New York, which are through the roof. You get where I'm going with this, is that Dave Kellett, like Brad Geiger, has decided that 99.9% of conventions are not worth it for me. Yeah. San Diego, you hear every year, I can make a healthy profit at San Diego, but it's under, frankly, the ideal conditions. The only way that show could be better for me is if I already lived in San Diego. Right. So, you could not ask for better conditions for me specifically to make a profit at a show. Aside from that, I don't do conventions anymore. So Brad's right. Right. It is not something, I mean, should you try it? Yes. Should you network while you're there? Yes. Should you experiment with different kinds of shows to see what might work for you? Yes. Should you do all that with once and only once you have merch that already exists and you know you can make a profit from? Yes. So conventions are not something we promote heavily on the show because it is a tricky leg under the table. And honestly, for the vast majority of you doing your first show at whatever show you could pick, it won't be profitable. So we don't tend to put that one on the high on the mark there. But to answer Brad's rejoinder to me, of the other ones that Quentin had mentioned, Patreon, Kickstarter, oddly enough, the one that I am most concerned about going forward is merch. And I'll tell you why. 2 reasons. Postage, both domestically, because I'm not sure how the U.S. Postal Service is going to fare under the Trump administration under the next 3 years. Like, I could see them trying to privatize that SOB, and I could see it going super south. I mean, we've seen it with
getting away with it very quickly.
Getting away with it, but then paying the price in the way that friend democracies have had. I think the UK privatized their postal service to not great results. I think Canada is currently struggling with it. It's one of those services that America traditionally, I always thought, had done really well. And if they break that, it's going to be hard to fix it for future administrations. So I'm worried about that. But in the meantime, I'm also currently worried, and this is a real existing problem right now, international shipping has become virtually impossible for the average person to do because of import taxes and tariffs on any sort of thing that you might ship, and the frickin' cost of the thing to send it in the first place. You know, where it's $60 to send a book to Australia, it's $30 to send a book to the EU from the United States. So I'm worried about that from a merch perspective. And then I'm just worried about what looks like a spinning up cycle of trade wars internationally. Like, we have a dingus in chief, and it looks like that is spurring on all sorts of nationalistic and protectionistic tariffs being implemented around the world, we had sort of 30 years, kind of 40 years, depending on how you want to define it, of a lot of international tariffs dropping because a lot of people were thinking, oh, global trade is a good thing. And now, for a lot of macroeconomic reasons that I won't bore people with, a lot of countries are spinning up tariffs again. And I don't know that that's a cycle that's going to end anytime soon. I think the next decade, we are in for tit for tat tariffs, both because of declining population sets, trickiness with their tax bases, and nationalistic policies that are rising around the world. Tariffs are here for good. And I think that's going to make everything that's not a book almost impossible to do if you're an American. And I'm kind of worried, Brad, about international tariffs that have so far kept book tariffs low, you know?
Right.
Like there's nothing to stop morons from removing books from those non-tariff lists, you know, just being like, we're no longer part of this treaty. We're out, you know, now every book has to be made here, you know, that kind of thing.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think merchandise is the one that really physical merchandise, something that we've got a real close eye on, mainly because of the tariffs, right?
Yeah.
I agree. I'm going to correct myself real quick. You asked if the New York Comic-Con was at the Javits, and I said no. That was at the Javits. I was thinking about when Wizard World used to be at the Piers. I don't know whether you ever did that one, but they had a show that was out at the Piers, which was an alternate place. Right. That was literally, when I was there, just falling right apart.
And gang, I want to save my friend Brad here because he's saying that he had made a mistake and that he forgot. But really what was happening is he was thinking about all the amazing baked goods in his neighborhood that is waiting for him right now. That tonight on the way home, he could be getting $5 worth of baked goods that are actually $45 worth of baked goods.
I was actually thinking about that because I leave the studio here at like 6:30.
Yes,
and it's
Brad,
like,
that's when all the bakeries,
if I found a place that's on the way home, I could just stop on the way home and surprise. Could you imagine how much my sons and my wife would just shower me with adoration if I walked in with bagels and croissant and oh, God help me, donuts?
There is, okay. My wife has stopped me. Thus far, my wife has stopped me from doing this, and she's right to do it because Lord knows I don't need the donuts. But there is a super high-end donut shop in Los Angeles called Sidecar Donuts. And I don't know if you have any super high-end donut shops yet in Philadelphia. Do you?
Yes.
Okay, you do. So you know what I'm talking about. It's the kind of donut shops that have like the weird bacon tops or like incorporate real blueberries into their, and the donuts are amazing. Don't get me wrong. But each donut is like $4.
Yeah.
And so this place in LA, Sidecar Donuts, I noticed they're on the app last night, or not last night, 2 nights ago. And it took everything that my wife had to stop me from being like, Anyway, so the other one that I'm worried about, and this is, I would say, more of a black swan event that we're mentally prepared for, is that at some point, the piper is going to come due for the ISP for, not the ISP, the initial stock offering for Patreon. And when that happens, when they go public and when the VC capital tries to juice their probably 10-year long investment thus far, like it's going to happen at some point.
It's impressive they've made it this far, but you're right to point out that eventually this is something that is probably going to happen. Yeah.
And when they become public, and when that whole process, the gears start to turn on the initial stock offering, is really going to be the enshittification of Patreon. And we've been saying this for years, and thus far, it hasn't happened. So like Brad said, good on them that they've made it this far without doing that initial stock offering. But at some point, your venture capital goes, hey, we'd like our money back on that $100 million we put forward for you in your A stock offering, whatever it was. So I do worry about that. Yeah. Thankfully, though, Brad, that fear is mitigated somewhat by the fact that now there is an ecosystem where other apps and platforms could step up. Is it Stubs? Is it Substack, which I'm not totally happy with?
Yeah.
Could take their place? Yes. Could it be an Indiegogo, one of those kind of weird ones, Buy Me a Coffee or Kofefi or whatever the hell it's called?
Right.
There's, Brad, there's like 5, you always know the names. There's like 5 or 6 junior also rans, they're like, put me in, coach, kind of apps, that kind of thing. They could, what I'm saying though, is that they could step up. And we've seen that happen in the internet world every 5 or 6 years with this or that thing where some social media platform falls and a new one steps up to its place kind of thing. And that could happen with Patreon, I think. But I am afraid of it.
No, I think you're right to point it out. I think you are 100% right to point it out. But like you said, the important thing that Patreon did wasn't an app, it was an idea. What Patreon did was they came in at the right time and made it cool to subscribe to something. All right, particularly an artist. Apple kind of paved the way with getting you used to the idea of putting a micropayment on an MP3. Patreon came around and made it very cool, very fashionable to subscribe to an individual artist. Once that idea cemented, and once we got people used to the idea of subscribing for content, now the cat's out of the bag. And now putting something out and saying, oh, yeah, it's a subscriber thing is not like it was back in 2010 when I was trying to take webcomics.com into a subscription model and got a lot of pushback. Now it's almost expected that there is a subscription attached. So, and that's what Patreon did. That cat's out of the bag. So if they do start enshittifying, it's just time to do what many of us have done for our entire careers. Pick up and plant someplace else and start growing there. That's one of the reasons that we are very, very insistent on things like newsletters and not growing your audience on somebody else's ground, owning and controlling your work and therefore your audience. Those kind of things are very important because when it comes time to make that shift and say, okay, this isn't working out, I've got to go over there now, that's when you're really going to appreciate having a direct line to your audience members.
Yes, because I can tell you, and this has happened repeatedly in terms of legs being pulled out from underneath me, repeatedly in my career, I have developed a relationship, let's say, with this or that reader via a social media app.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I have parted ways with that social media app, Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or MySpace back in the day, for God's sakes, or Tumblr or this and that. And I'll find out like 10 years later, someone will be like, oh my God, Sheldon, I haven't thought about this in forever. And it's like, yeah, probably because we knew each other on Instagram and you followed me on Instagram and then I left Instagram and that's probably what happened, And Brad's right. When you build a relationship via your newsletter, when you build a relationship via your website, it's just a stronger ground to stand on for a long-term relationship with that reader. But Brad, let me ask you this though, because Quentin had an interesting wrinkle that we've never addressed before, I don't think, which is what unexpected legs do you see potentially coming under the table in the next few years or the next half decade or decade?
I don't know. So here's the thing. I think there's a couple of things that is going to result as AI becomes more and more mainstream, right? And that is one thing that you notice over time. Every time there's a high tech push, there's a high touch pushback, right? And every high tech comes with a high touch.
Did you coin this?
No, I can't take credit. I read that someplace. I wish I could take credit for that little bit of rhetoric, but I can't. But what that means is a lot of times, like there's a high tech push and something that is much more handmade, much more, there's a personal connection to it. Those things also come back. So I look to see, I think there's a verifiable fear of what AI is going to do. There's also, if you take a look at stuff being done, and AI is only going to improve. Let's start there. But AI is only as good as the person typing the prompt in. And whereas that's going to do certain things very well, there are certain, let me give you an example. You can prompt ChatGPT, for example, to come up with a 4-panel Charles Schulz cartoon in which Snoopy discovers that he loves donuts, right? loves blueberry donuts. That's
Right.
I want to do that, right?
Right,
And
right.
you can do that. You know what ChatGPT can't do? It can't create the Charles Schulz comic strip in the first place, right? That had to exist. Charles Schulz had to ideate that. Charles Schulz had to develop that for ChatGPT to build on it. And that's a very simplistic example of where I'm going with this.
Right.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is there's as ChatGPT continues to put more stuff, and it's right now you can easily tell an image that was built, especially a cartoon image. ChatGPT seems to have been developing its own drawing style. You can tell something that was drawn, quote unquote, in AI very
It does,
quickly.
Yeah,
you can identify
so far you
it.
can. Yeah.
Unless somebody's saying, copy that human artist over there. They can't. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It can do that. So what I'm trying to say is, I think as we start to as the newness of that and the novelty wears off, it's going to make people appreciate things that were handmade, things that were done by humans, things that were high touch, as it were. And so I think things like comics made by people, even commissions. When people see the difference between, I'm going to tell ChatGPT to draw Batman, in a bikini jumping into a pool of Jello.
Wait, I can do that?
Oh, believe me, you got to get the prompt just right.
I'm just kidding.
But I think that once the novelty of that wears off, there's still something in surprise. All humor is about surprise. And what's the one thing you really don't have with the prompt, other than that actual image, is surprise. Whereas when you go to sheldoncomics.com and you see the new comic there, you're surprised by that. You didn't know what was going to happen. It was there, and it was a treat, and it amazed you or delighted you or made you laugh, and it was a total surprise. I think people are going to start leaning back into that. That's my pie in the sky answer for this, is that I foresee, as we get a real big high tech push, I think people are going to come back and start to appreciate people who actually create things.
I hope so. My fear with that, and this is coming from a guy that still sells originals every year, you know, in eBay pieces. My fear with that is that that's just cope from people that don't know, like myself included, for people that don't know what the future holds for us. And we're like, well, maybe they'll just love high touch. Whereas what we've seen in the last, 20 years since the iPhone came around is that people retreat from social interactions more and more, and they retreat from physical items more and more versus digital purchases because the cost is so different. You know what I mean? Like, you'll have this huge new market for skins for a video game, or you know what I'm saying, in terms of like digital stuff or what I'm getting at is my fear there, Brad, is that it's cope, and I share the cope because I'm hoping that that's the case, that people are like, oh, I still love originals.
You're right. What you're saying is right, but also, what's the other thing that we've seen in what you just got done talking about is, like, yes, there has been a big surge in appreciation for digital merchandise. Right. But at the same time, that physical merchandise, those books that we kickstart year after year, have been resilient. If anything, maybe have gotten to be a bigger part of our business. So at the same time, all that stuff happened with iPhones and digital merchandise. At the same time, a physical book, a physical archive, something that is frankly a very dated concept, is a huge part of our business. Yeah.
Well, so I will answer Quentin in. By the way, it's Quentin.
I think it's Quentin.
It's Quentin.
It was with an I. Quentin.
I appreciate that there's people that are like, no, it's a Quentin, and no, I'm a Quentin. You know, like that there's a differentiation there. I appreciate that. That's fun.
It was one of the best characters in movies, Quentin Habsburg. Do you remember who Quentin Habsburg was?
No. Who's that?
He was the character that Robert Goulet played in the Naked Gun movie. He was the villain. Quentin Habsburg.
Mr. Habsburg will see you now. Yes, I do remember that.
Quentin Habsburg.
Yeah, that's great.
What do you think about that, Mr. Poopy Pants? One of the best lines.
Okay, so I'm going to say something that might surprise a lot of people, which is that I do think AI is going to fundamentally change, especially as we get into better and better models in the next 5 to 10 years. Like, they're going to get incredibly good, especially as we get closer to general AI. And general AI, unfortunately, Brad, will be creative and will surprise us and might end the world. So that might be a fun thing for all of us.
That'll be fun.
It'll be fun when it releases that bioweapon. One thing that will be advantageous, and that to answer Quentin's answer about future legs that don't exist now that might exist because of AI. And Brad and myself and a lot of people will hate this answer, but it is true. Because we do own our IP. Brad owns Evil Inc. I own Drive, right? And AI will not be allowed increasingly to touch on existing IP. Like, there'll be all sorts of parameters where it'll say, like, no, if it's a copyrighted thing, you're not allowed to use it. You're not allowed to incorporate it, because the lawsuits will get more foundational as we go forward. Right now, it's the Wild West, but the lawsuits will eventually catch up thanks to Disney, thanks to Warner Brothers, thanks to Paramount. The lawsuits will come fast and furious, and copyright law will be established, right? What I'm getting at, though, is we will own our IP. And as AI gets better, and more closer to general AI, we'll be able to say, hey, create a fun gaming app based on the Drive universe for an iPhone. You know, I want it to be priced around $1.99. I want it to not have any ads in it. And I want it to follow my character Nosh as he goes around collecting croissants. You know what I mean? Right. It doesn't matter what. But you can, and by the way, gang, I'm not doing this. I'm just saying that you could do this because I own the IP, right? So then I have this app on the App Store that any of my readers could buy that I never would have paid coders to do right now, because it would have been prohibitively expensive. But in a world where creative AI could do it, I could noodle with the game over the course of a couple weeks and say, like, no, I want the color palette to be softer in its value. I want it to be, I want it to have more, bright. The croissants need to be a brighter yellow. That kind of. You get where I'm going with this. I can see a world, literally see a world where that's going to be happening in 5 to 10 years, where cartoonists that own their IP can offer all sorts of nonsense that we never traditionally would have done because it would have been cost prohibitive. Yeah. And does that mean, by the way, that a bunch of gaming coders get out of work? Of course it does. Because here's the dirty little truth about everybody with AI. They're fine using it for whatever is not their industry. Yes. And that's the shitty thing. Like, people are really watching that. If you're an accountant, you get mad when people use AI, ChatGPT to ask investing questions or tax questions. Yeah. And if you're a cartoonist, you get mad when people use ChatGPT to make cartoons. And if you're a novelist, you get mad when people use ChatGPT. Like, you get where I'm going with this. Everybody hates it when it infringes on their career and their job, but they're kind of okay with it for everything else. There's a reason why the signups keep going on ChatGPT. And I'm not saying this as like, this is a good thing for cartoonists, that we're going to be able to create mini app games. We're going to be able to create online worlds for our for our comics creations. I'm just saying it will happen. Those are legs that are 100% going to exist for cartoonists under the table in 5 to 10 years. And they did not previously exist. So basically, I'm for all the people that are going to come at me with hate about this, I'm just answering Quentin's question about what is going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years for web cartoonists and independent cartoonists. They're going to be able to make merch, digital merch, products, games that they never would have been able to make before using AI.
Oh, yeah. You already see cartoonists, like people who are panel cartoonists, for lack of a better word, using AI to animate their panels. I see this happening on Substack on a weekly basis.
Oh, do you really? I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I particularly like a single panel, and it adds nothing to the comic. It doesn't. In fact, in a certain way, it makes the comic a little bit harder to read. But the genie is not going back in the bottle. Is the bottom line, and you can see that happening right in real time in front of our faces. That is just going to become more and more of a part of what we do. I don't know. I'm still of the mind that actual creativity is always going to beat artificial creativity. But I will also say, just like Dave said, this is going to be a tool that more and more people use, and it's going to become kind of wrapped into how we do things. I was having this conversation with my son just this morning. I was dropping him off at school, and we were talking about AI. And I said, the thing about it is that a lot of people are using AI, even if they don't know they're using AI. For example, in Photoshop, there's a bunch of tools. There's the generative AI toolbar that comes up that you can choose to use or not to use. But there's a whole bunch of other tools that have AI coding behind them, right? That if you're going to use Photoshop, if you're going to spend the money for an Adobe monthly subscription, you're going to use those tools that are available to you, and it's going to be something that creeps more and more into everyday life. In some cases, you make the choice, right? Oh, I'm going to use this tool, but not that tool in Photoshop. In some cases, it's going to be in the background that you don't even know you're using it. And in some cases, it's going to be a choice that you would have never made and don't want, but it's thrust upon you anyway.
By the corporation, like when you go to chat with service at a company and you're actually chatting with an AI bot.
Exactly
that kind of thing.
What was on my mind. Every time you deal with the chat bot when you're supposed to be getting customer service.
And here is where it's going to happen in a way that is even more out of sight, out of mind, is in generational change. And I'll tell you what I mean. The cartoonists that came before Brad and I, all the cartoonists that are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, this is the Kathy Geiswhites, the Jim Davises, the Bill Wattersons, right? They saw cartooning as being in a newspaper. Brad and I, in our 50s, grew up in a generation that, having grown up with newspapers, saw the internet and made the transition. Everybody below us now sees the internet as the natural first place, and it's weird that newspapers still exist. And look at this weird artifact when they come across one in a hotel lobby, like, look at this thing.
Yeah.
And you can see how generationally, I'm using that as an example, generationally, AI will more and more with each generation become the norm, and not having an AI incorporated into some software thing will become weirder. I'm just saying that's the truth. You can hate me for saying it. It's going to be generationally a change that we're going to see in our lifetime, where the kids that are 10 years old now, by the time they're 30, they will be used to a world where AI is wrapped into every GD thing. Their car is driving itself. When they go to contact customer service, they're talking to a chat bot. When they're doing their homework, they're used to, using it as a resource. I'm just telling you, generationally, it's going to be a change we're all going to see in our lifetime, that every generation is going to be increasingly more willing and used to it. It's not going to be weird to them,
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree 100%. As far as going back and wrapping up this legs under the table question, do you have any other legs that you'd like to talk about?
No, I think that the continuing to own and control your own work. I do think that copyright will continue to get solidified in an AI world. I really do. Legally, there's no way that it can't happen. And we're already seeing it happening with settlements happening from certain AI companies already for authors. Like we had that huge settlement a couple weeks ago. And it's escaping me, but who the plaintiffs were. But you get where I'm going with this. As these copyright cases move their way through the courts, we're going to get more established law. So the thing that will benefit all of us is to own and control your career. And that is the continuing truth that will affect all of us. Hey, gang, if you're listening while you work, take a minute to stand and stretch.
And while you're doing that, we'll tell you why you should join us on Patreon.
Yeah, because when you do, you'll get hours and hours of podcasts that we've recorded just for backers.
And exclusive Patreon posts that go even deeper on Comic Lab topics.
And you'll get access to our exclusive Discord server, a thriving community of professional cartoonists.
So you can support the show you love and get tons of actionable resources for your own cartooning.
And ho Nelly, if you want even more comics goodness in your life, check out the new drawing show that we're doing with our pal Kevin McShane over at wrongwayshow.com. That's wrongwayshow.com.
In each episode, we'll show you how to draw your favorite cartoon characters the wrong way.
Now, everybody, let's talk comics.
What's that? Oh my gosh, do you hear that music? Speaking of legs, I've got to tell you that music can only be one thing. Ladies and gentlemen, prepare your chakras and center your vibes, because entering the Comic Lab studio on a radiant beam of self-belief and highly flammable essential oils, it's the one, it's the only Susan MacTaggart.
Oh, Bradley John, there's the face that people love to love. Bradley John, how are you, my friend?
It's been a while. I'm so glad that we've been able to bring you back to have another personal affirmation.
It's so lovely to see you again, Brad. I have to say, as a cartoonist, Bradley John, you've built such a recognizable brand, Bradley. So recognizable. Every time I see one of your comics, I think, oh, there it is again.
Well, Susan, thank you so much for joining us once again. And I got to congratulate you. Along with being an internationally unverified motivational speaker, you're the author of the new book, Make the Thing, Finish the Thing, Post the Thing, Dread the Thing, Repeat Until Dead. And that's coming out, I think, this fall from in bookstores near you.
And you forgot to mention, Bradley, it's from Penguin Random House. Coming out to bookstores everywhere.
Yes, I do know. I do love how you say Penguin Random House. So listen, we know that you're contractually obligated to provide a weekly personal affirmation for one lucky $10 Patreon backer. And this week, your personal affirmation is going out to Manaroth. Manaroth.
Manaroth?
Manooroth.
Bradley John, can I ask you a question, Bradley?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not as familiar with this name. Is this a Manaroth? That sounds like it could be a show from the 1980s. John Manaroth was a cop for 20 years, but now he works the streets as a private dick. Tune on CBS on Wednesdays, 8:30 for Manaroth.
Yeah. Right after Coach, stay tuned for Night Court and then a very special Manaroth.
Manaroth.
Hold
is that
on,
some sort of Tolkien character, Bradley? What is Manaroth? I don't know that. Is that a name?
Let me look this up. There's got to be an answer here. Here we go. Manaroth was an Annihilan who served in the Burning Legion in the alternate timeline of Worlds of Warcraft. Approached by Gul'dan, Gul''Dan. You remember, you like their mustard. Manaroth's plan was to corrupt the entire orc race and make them into servants of the Legion.
Oh, Bradley John, this sounds like an awful lot of not dating is what that sounds like to me.
Sounds like a lot of Saturday nights at home. Just like you and me.
Well, Manaroth, first of all, I love the name. It's got a lot of power, a lot of pep.
Yeah.
It says I'm someone out here taking control of all the orcs or the elves or something there.
Orcs,
That was wonderful.
yes, orcs.
It was with the orcs, yes. So, Manaroth, I've got a little personal affirmation for you this week, sweetheart. And Manaroth, here it is. Every panel you draw, Manaroth, brings you closer to mastery. Or perhaps to carpal tunnel. So flex those wrists, you little ink slinger. Flex those wrists. Every panel you draw, Manaroth. And Manaroth, I love the name, I love the style, I love the pep. Bring it to the world, bring it to the stage, bring it to the page. Manaroth, you're doing wonderful. And Bradley John, I'll say to you, keep working on that brand. I love it, I love to see it, because every time I see a Brad Geiger comic, I say, oh look, there's Brad Geiger.
And there she goes, vanishing into a cloud of sandalwood and raw ambition. Thank you, Susan MacTaggart, for another soul-fortifying affirmation and for reminding us that success is just a vision board away, assuming you don't get bored with your vision. And Dave, you missed her again.
I walked right
Susan
back in right as she
was
walked.
just here.
I saw the poof of perfume exiting the door right as I was walking back in. But Bradley, I have a perfectly timed question. Speaking of the styles of Susan MacTaggart, this is a question about the difference between style and design. It comes into us over on patreon.com/comiclab and says, Bradley John, what is the relationship between style and design? If I draw Charlie Brown just like he appears in the strip, am I imitating Schultz's style or just drawing his character design? Bradley John, a cartoonist of 25 years, I direct this question towards you. If I draw evil ink and I draw a mismatch, am I drawing your style or your design, Bradley John?
The answer is definitively yes. You're doing both. You're doing both because it's my character and it's I can't draw my character in somebody else's style. So yeah, you're drawing both. But before we go too far down this rat hole, the first thing we've got to make clear is that this is art, and the word design and the word style has different meanings based on different contexts. It's just like the word comic itself could mean a book full of comics, or it could mean a single comic. Design and style have meanings that can change.
Or how, like, if you were to apply the word chest for Dave Kellett versus Brad Geiger chest, how would we draw that, right? Like, that would be I would draw a little pirate's treasure. Brad would draw something that he'd get paid $400 for. So that's the difference between.
That's a completely different chest. I thought you meant my chest, actual chest.
Oh, no, not sunken. No. I meant.
That's a different pirate treasure. It's sunken chest.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but it's not like we're chemistry. We're in chemistry where like mercury has a specific meaning, right? We're not there. So we've got to allow that these words. We're going to give you an answer to your question, but then you're going to say, well, if that's the case, well, what if I do this in that style? And as soon as style changes context, the answer's going to change.
You're right. It's Quicksilver. It's these words sometimes, like, I don't know if anybody has ever gone. I gave a talk one time at Art Center out in I don't know where Pasadena, wherever it is. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's an arts college in Los Angeles. And I gave a talk out there, and they're like, oh, do you want to sit in on the critiques afterward? Because they were doing critiques. And I was like, yeah, but I don't really want to give critiques. I mean, I will if people ask, but and some students did. But they were doing critiques, and the language that they used, Brad, was all Quicksilver art words, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Whereas it's like these slippery definitions, and you're like, come on, guys. So yes, Brad is right. Style and design can have quicksilvery uses in the worlds of art, but I will try to make a stab at it, Brad, if we can. So let's use Schultz, for example. Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown, I would posit, is a design. It's a character design that grew out of Schultz's style. Schultz has a style of drawing, a style of approaching comics, a style of reducing characters to being 2 heads high, a style of approaching minimalization and iconization of human features. And that style, when translated to the character of Charlie Brown, became a design. So Snoopy is a design set in Charlie Brown's style, or in Schultz's style. Charlie Brown is a design set in Schultz's style. Yeah. Brad, would you agree, disagree? Would you agree to disagree? What would you do with that?
I would say design is the thing, and the style is how the thing looks, how the thing was done. Right. So Charlie Brown, that character with the round head and, 3 heads high and the way the hands are drawn and so forth. That's the character design of that character. Drawing it in Schultz's wobbly line, drawing it in the kind of ink work that it was drawn, and just making the choice to draw it in black and white. Right. Using the colors that he used and those kind of choices, that falls more along the line of style. Although color, you could maybe file that under design, because he always had a yellow shirt with a black squiggly line, except sometimes it was red. But the design is the thing, and the style is how the thing was done. So you can't, when you're talking about like somebody's original work, you can't separate design and style, because Charles Schultz could not have possibly designed something and then drawn it in somebody else's style. Or at least he couldn't draw a style of somebody else's design. As long as we're talking about his original work. Now, if Charles Schultz for an NCS thing had to draw Beetle Bailey, yes, he could draw the Beetle Bailey design but it would end up being a little bit in his style.
Yes. And I'll tell you what this will perfectly illustrate this. Brad Geiger did a wonderful short story in the Drive universe a couple months back where he took my character designs, but then he did them, or rather Danielle drew, sorry, Brad wrote it, but Danielle drew it. But Brad took the design of the character's voice and wrote them in a Brad Geiger style. Right. Danielle took the design of the characters and then did them in a Danielle Corsetto style. A couple years back when the Schultz studio asked me to do a Schultz piece for a book, I took Schultz's designed characters, but they're undoubtedly in a Dave Kellett style. People even said, oh, that was kind of fun to see a Dave Kellett style applied to and one of the reasons why we hold up certain cartoonists like Lar D'Souza or D. Fish as like being just mimics is because they have the ability to draw the design and do it in the original cartoonist style. Chris Straub sometimes has this ability too. Brad Geiger and I don't necessarily have that ability. Sometimes we can do it, but when we say that a cartoonist is a mimic, what we're saying is not only can they do the design, which every cartoonist can do, but they can mimic the style, which is the spirit, the force that animates all the things that that original cartoonist would draw. They can do it in the style of that cartoonist. And Lar and Dee and Straub and other people can do that really well, you know?
Yeah, and there's a whole sliding scale. In other words, a lot of things that Dee and Lar does, I would argue, has a little touch of their own style in there. You can still tell.
A little amuse-bouche, yes. A little amuse-bouche,
You can still tell that that's a Lar D'Souza drawing. You can still tell that's a D. Fish drawing. There are some people out there, and you know, they get good contracts doing licensed work, where if they draw SpongeBob SquarePants, it looks exactly like a SpongeBob SquarePants. It's the design and the style.
Much like Brad was able to name the pronunciation of that perfectly. Like you didn't even notice that wasn't the title for SpongeBob SquarePants.
What did I call it?
I don't know. You had a little senior moment there. You're like, Spork Bop, Squeak Bop. And you're like, what? That's not SpongeBob SquarePants. Anyway, I kind of want to go back and listen to it because I was like, what was that?
Like a SpongeBob SquarePants.
Just SpongeBob Square. Anyway. But yeah, to Brad's point, though, he's right. Brad's right. Yeah, some people are able to nail it, and some people get banned from eBay because they nail styles so well. And you're like, hey, that ain't a Watterson. Don't buy that kind of thing, you know? So, yes. And so what does a style mean when it gets translated to a new character, Brad? Like, let's say Brad Geiger this week needs a character that can throw, it's a supervillain that can throw ice. Describe for people how your style and how a design come to interplay in the creation of something new, Brad. A character that throws ice from it generates ice from their fingers. How would Brad Geiger use their style to create a design? Do you know what I mean?
Okay, so this is where I guess I'm either going to be helpful or not helpful. I can tell you how I would design that character, right? Okay. I could do any number of things to design that character, whether I'm going to use icicles as part of that character's costume, like, you know, right? Because it gives you a nice jagged line, or whether I'm going to do something super hammy, like strap a freezer to the person's back, and all the ice comes from the freezer, kind of like the Demon Slayer character always carries his sister on his back on that big wooden box.
Or what was the X-Men villain that could control fire, but he couldn't generate it?
Like Pyro.
Pyro. Like I always liked that Pyro basically had to wear a fire-producing jetpack because he couldn't, you know, he needed a constant source of fire, which was a fun design. It was a fun design, you know.
So I could tell you any number of things that I could do. I could tell you that that for an ice character, Brad Geiger is probably going to make that face a little bit skinny and that chin a little bit pointy, kind of like an icicle, because a round, fat face is not going to be a
doesn't
good
feel ice adjacent. Yeah.
So at least not for in my mind, I don't see it. I'd like or a chiseled jawline. I'm probably going to make that character have kind of a pointy nose and silver hair, et cetera, et cetera. Now, style. I cannot draw in anyone else's style but mine. So like to tell you that, I'm going to make sure that I do this, that, and the next. I don't have that ability. When my pen hits the screen, it's going to come out the way I draw. And it's not going to be like that I think about it. It's not going to be I'm trying to do it. It's going to be that's the way I draw. If I don't have any, I don't feel I have any control over it because other than if I were to all of a sudden start to resolve all these problems that I've already solved over 27 years of comics. Like when I draw eyes the way I draw eyes. I'm not all of a sudden going to start giving them little orphan Annie dot eyes, because that's not how I draw. I've already solved the problem of how I draw eyes. So when it's come times to give this character eyes, they're going to get eyes that I've learned how to draw over the years. And it's not maybe won't be one specific set, but it comes from a grouping that I've refined over the years, and I feel very comfortable doing at all the angles and so forth. So style is what happens on the other side of my pen. Design, I can do a whole lot of things with design. Style is just gonna happen. And by the way, another artist might be like completely opposite from that.
So I want to break that down because this is interesting. I love this dichotomy of the design is what happens on the north side of the pen. It's happening in your brain, but the style happens on the pointy end of the pen. That's happening on the page, right? Because you kind of can't fight your own style. Right. And by the way, I super co-sign that. I underlined it and I agree with it. Brad is 100% right. Yeah. Where this is interesting, Brad, and I think you'll think this is fun too, is that if I'm drawing a Brad Geiger piece, the reverse has to be true. Yeah. At the end of my pen, rather than drawing my style, I kind of have to force it and draw Brad's design. Yeah. And then on my brain, I'm trying to mimic Brad's style. And you know what I mean? You get where I'm going with this. Yeah. I have to reverse what's a natural process for a normal cartoonist to do someone else's work and someone else's style. I have to make the design at the front of the pen and the style. I don't know. Maybe that's neither here nor there. But I just thought it was a fun thing to point out.
It's a fun way to look at it. But it's also kind of a meaningless conversation.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Because the next artist down the street is going to have their own mental breakdown of what that is. And they're going to say, oh, I can't control design at all because I'm not good at that. But what I can do is I can draw this guy on the left that looks like he belongs in the SpongeBob universe. Yep. And the guy on the right looks like he belongs in the Drive universe.
Right.
And I can break down those styles. But as far as design, if you told me to design an original character, they'd feel a little bit more awkward on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a meaningless. It's kind of like not only are the words change meaning with context, but then they change meaning with individual artists. Yes. Because I don't know that there's a whole lot of people that are exactly the same when it comes to this.
Yeah. Well, and I also, one thing we haven't talked about is that some people's styles, Brad included, myself included, can't be applied to certain kinds of designs. Yeah. Like no matter what I do, my style, the Dave Keld style that you've seen in Sheldon and in Drive, if someone from Marvel called me tomorrow and said, we would love you to do a Marvel book, which by the way, I'm available. Love to do. I still want to do my Paste Pot Pete backup story.
Would you really take a month off of your career to do that?
Probably not. No, probably not. I
think about it all the time, and it's like I'm never willing to do what you'd actually have to do.
I know.
To do that.
You know what it is? My wife says this all the time. I just want to be asked. I want to be asked.
I want to be asked so I can tell them no, and then say, guess what?
Like, can I tell you? This is a humble brag, but I still make hay out of the fact that like the Henson Company asked me one time to do something, and I was like, I don't have time. But Brad, what a humble brag now forever to be able to say, the Henson Company asked me to do something. I was like,
had to turn
sorry
them
guys,
down.
I had to turn them down. I can't do it. I just want Marvel to, not even DC, I just want Marvel to ask me to do a backup story. Be like, sorry guys, don't have time. No, but I would write one. Writing wouldn't take that much time. I would write a Marvel backup story. So Ryan, call me if you ever need a backup story for Fantastic Four. I'll do one. But anyway, so what was I going to say? Oh, like if you ask Paul Pope to do a simplistic, childlike, Schultz-like comic strip character, it would really be forcing the issue. And frankly, Paul Pope not drawing like Paul Pope for that to happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or if you asked, I'm trying to think of a very unique style, like Robert Crumb. Can you think of a style where he couldn't do it? Like Crumb is actually pretty versatile, but well,
let me tell you where I immediately went to when you started talking, and it's this. You couldn't take the character design of an adult and draw it in Charles Schultz's style, because Charles Schultz's style is all these short, squat characters, right? And it doesn't translate well to that tall, six head high design. Like you couldn't draw it. There are comics that exist where Schultz drew adults, but it doesn't look like Schultz's style.
They are wonky as hell. In fact, I'm going through my phone right now to try to find them, because this past trip to Columbus, I was at the Billy Ireland Museum, and they have a few Schultz pieces. Mm-hmm. And so I requested to see some, and the originals, I mean. And I want everybody to Google this. There was a Schultz strip called It's Only a Game, and it appeared in the 50s, and it was all sports comics from Charles Schultz, right? Yeah. And boy, it's weird to see adults drawn in Schultz's style, because it's basically Charlie Brown grown up, and you're like, I don't want to see this. Look at those long ass legs. Oh, look at this weird torso that's way too long. Why is this character 6 heads high? Oh, I don't like any of this. You're like, I'm out. And so
now my question is, if you showed that to somebody and said, who drew this, would they say it was Charles Schultz who drew it?
They would, and that's what makes it
then
freaky.
Maybe I'm wrong, because my whole idea was you couldn't draw it in his style, and it wouldn't be recognizable as such. It's
a very specific 1950s, 60s version of Schultz too. So you're like, that's Schultz. Anyway. Yeah. But it's weird is what I'm saying. Like, it didn't work. There's a reason why it didn't work. It's like, have you ever had a project where you were so close, but you didn't hit the mark and you can't figure it out at the time, but you figure it out later? Oh, it's because I was like, that's what this Schultz project was. It's like, oh, you're very good as a cartoonist. Yeah. You just can't draw adults. Like, don't do adults. Like, that's the radioactive zone. So what I was getting at, interestingly, is that sometimes sometimes a person's style means they just cannot do certain kinds of designs. Yeah. I can't do superheroes. Brad can do superheroes all day long. Brad, maybe, I'm trying to think of a style that you couldn't do. I was going to say you couldn't do chibi, but I've seen your chibi. They're very cute. Your 1950s chibi.
I don't think I do things that are not mine very well at all. Like if Marvel did call, but they said, hey, you got to draw kind of more like John Buscema. And I know I always get his name wrong. So I'll just say, you got to draw more like John Romita.
Byrne. Pick a different John.
Yeah,
John
something
Romita,
that I can pronounce.
Yeah,
right?
There you go.
Just Brad, try to draw like somebody you could pronounce, they said. And I go, okay, yeah, I can do that. I don't think I would do very well doing that. I don't think I could. That's just it. Every now and again, I get a commission, and I make this part of my commission terms of service right at the forefront. When somebody says, I'd like to commission you, I send them a list of do's and don'ts, and here's how it's going to work, and here's the process, and so forth. And one of the things I say is, don't ask me to draw in somebody else's style. It took me 27 years to figure out how to draw like Brad Geiger.
Right. And we're still figuring it out, you know?
And I still really feel like I'm figuring it out. Don't ask me to draw like somebody else. I can't. It's going to look horrible.
So what I was getting at in going on that tangent about artists, certain styles can't draw certain designs, is that, to Brad's earlier point of like, when you go to design a new character, all you can do is work in your style. Yeah. I have tried, Brad, and I would challenge you to spot the aliens. I have tried with certain aliens in Drive. I said, You know what? I want to change it up. I want this look to look different. I'm going to try to draw this alien. I'm trying to think of people that I tried to channel. I tried to channel Jeff Smith one time with a certain alien, and I tried to channel Jim Lee, actually, with a certain alien design.
Wow.
I would challenge you, Brad, because I know what the answer is, to point out which aliens in Drive were me channeling Jeff Smith and me channeling Jim Lee, because I guarantee you they look like Dave Kellett designs and Dave Kellett style. Because I can't run away from myself. You know what I mean?
And that's not to say that it's impossible for somebody else, because like we just said earlier, there's some people who can do this very, very well. They're extremely good at it.
Yep.
So, which leads me to like, I don't know that anything is gained by this conversation, because the words change context. And the whole ideas change meaning when you go from one artist to another. It's an interesting conversation, but I don't know that we've accomplished anything.
A conversation like this, Brad, is like a game of golf. Like, you didn't accomplish anything, but it was a fun walk. You know, it was a fun walk.
It's like those nights in college where you're up way too late and you're a little bit three sheets to the wind, and you start asking each other, you know, if they really believe in an afterlife, or you know, if they believe that quantum mechanics works. And you get into this really deep conversation. You wake up the next morning, you're hungover, and you can't remember a dang thing that you said.
Yeah, you were really into that conversation about whether communism has actually truly been tried. And then you wake up the next morning with a hangover. You're like, that was useless. Why did we do any of that?
Yeah. Well, listen, we're never going to really know if communism has been truly tried. But I think that we've been truly trying our audience's patience by not saying that you've been listening to Comic Lab, the show about making comics and making a living from comics.
Your hosts have been my delightful friend, Brad Geiger, whose style can be seen as the editor of webcomics.com and whose wonderful designs can be seen as the creator of Evil Inc. over at evilcomic.com. And he is the handsome co-host of the fantastic new drawing show over on YouTube, but you can find it at wrongwayshow.com.
And my close personal friend, Dave Kellett, the marvelous co-director of the wonderfully designed strip, and the cartoonist of the stylish Sheldon at sheldoncomics.com, and the designish Drive at drivecomic.com, and another handsome co-host of the drawing show at wrongwayshow.com.
And the Comic Lab theme song is used with permission from Andy Creighton at theworldrecord.net. And this episode was edited by the ever wonderful, ever whimsical Matt Woodard of Woodsong Productions over at www.woodsong.media.
If you love Comic Lab, and we know that you do, you can rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, and you may hear your review featured on a future episode. And don't forget, give us a 5-star review on Spotify, where we are burning up those podcast charts.
Every once in a while, your voice hits a DJ tone, like you said, and we know that you do. And when you went to do, you dropped down like 2 octaves, and you like hit a brown note there. I was like, I felt it in my stomach. I was like, oh boy, what is that? But it was a power, and we know that you do. It was great. I was like, ladies, form an orderly line on that. That was great. Anyway, Comic Lab is made possible by your support on patreon.com/Comic Lab. So we'll go ahead and say that twice. Patreon.com/ Now I'm unsure about what brown note means. I'm not sure what I just said there.
I thought that meant fart. I'm glad you mentioned that.
I'm going to look it up after the show and be horrified at what my reference was there. I'm not sure what a brown note was.
Too Good To Go. I gotta download this Too Good To Go app. But now, is the minimum $5?
So it varies. There's, by the way, I just want to reemphasize, this is not an paid ad. I just legitimately am such a cheapskate, and I love this thing. So most of the bakeries, Brad, are like $5 to $6 in LA. I don't know what your local city will be. Like if you live maybe in the Midwest, it might be $3 to $4. I don't know.
Oh my God.
But they also do meals, Brad. So if some sushi places, their fish will go bad at the end of the day. So a lot of sushi, you can get a sushi meal for $8 or $9. And it's this full spread of sushi that would normally cost you $30 for $8 on Too Good To Go. And so there's all sorts of stuff on there. You can get companies that do drinkses, special drinkses. What do we call it?
Am I podcasting with Gollum all of a sudden?
Suddenly Smeagol is like, no, he wants the drinks. No, my precious. If companies that do drinks, God damn it, I almost said it again. Companies that do drinks.
Nasty Hobbits is not giving me my drinks.
Oh, we hates it. We wants the drinks.
God damn it. It's company. Never mind. Oh, jeez.